decide how we respond to different things. We can either do the positive thing, or we can do, or let it overwhelm us and control us and make us feel a certain way. It's weird. Have you guys ever experienced that? Like some situation pops up and then, you find yourself, you're like angry about what's happening. And you ask yourself,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, but we have a choice. We can choose to be angry in any given situation. We could choose. But why is it that the things that happen to us makes us respond, and we, with these feelings and these emotions, why is that? What do you guys think?
I think the response with feelings and emotions are basically what has always been there, but that just surfaces at the moment. So the feelings and emotions could be triggered by anything that's unrelated to the original feelings and emotions.
That's very powerful what you just said.
That is true. And also, there's no thing we can go without. How can I say this? There's nothing that can compass us without an emotion. So everything, our actions and all that is part of an emotion.
And God gives us our emotions, right? It come from him. He designed them. So the question is how do we take those emotions and those feelings, that we're always going to be involved in, or always have part of our experience? How do we manage that? How do we look to something or look at how we respond? How can we, govern those emotions? Like in this case with this water situation, it's going to be thousands and thousands of dollars of damage, but we have insurance and all that kind of stuff, but still it's just the idea behind it that's frustrating and it's upset. But I like what you said, Dr. You read about it being something that's always been there, that resurfaces and something triggers it. And then you have to ask yourself, well, where does this come from? Like, how do you find that? You know what I mean? How do you find out where something came from? Do you meditate on it or what?
I think they call it trauma or lived experiences that happened before that can always live with a person.
Kind of like a deja vu thing.
Like a past trauma, huh? That's undercover, and then when this happens, you know what? In order to deal with that, one must write that stuff down. Is the issue the water? Is the issue? I'm just using this tonight as an example, because we're going to get into our Torah portion. It's very similar to what we're talking about here. I think crisis is what brings about this trigger, okay? And it triggers us in a way that it demands a response from us. So in our Torah portion this week, it was called, and let me preface this by saying that, when we talk about Torah and talking about its portion, what we're saying is that, there's several Torahs. There's a Torah that was given to our ancestors, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, and that's proven by what the Most High said about Abraham, that he will lead his descendants and in my way, and to guard and protect my way. And then also told Yitzhak that your father, all these things have happened because he listened to what I said, which was my mishpatim, my kukim, and my Torah, and then we ourselves have our Torah, the instructions that were given to us, which puts us somewhat in a different category about how does the Most High, it's not how he sees us, but what his expectations are from us. And so we have to know the difference between the two. So when I say Torah, what I'm saying is that the scriptures are dividing into different sections that have to deal with specific people at specific times. as I stated earlier, like when you deal with Yosef, a lot of us would think, well, the Most High is going to deal with our family exactly the same way. I've heard that before. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard that, like, be the Joseph of your family. But he was under a different set of circumstances, and his situation was completely different than our situation. Can someone give me an idea about what I'm saying there? Like, how is his situation different than our situation?
Well, for one, the creator, spoke with him, guided him.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
a lot of
true.
times we feel like the creator may not speak or guide with us. So that could be a difference.
You're right. He had, he was alone, but Yahweh was with him in a sense, right? He does say that he was with Yosef, everything, and he did prosper, right? Everything, every place he went, every time he was in management of anybody's house, everything was good. But it was for the benefit of the family. It was for the benefit of the children of Israel, which we're going to see here in just a moment. Thank you for those remarks. It says in verse number 18, the Yehuda approached Yosef. This word right here of approached is this Hebrew idea of what they would call nagash. Okay. And what nagash means, it means to come close, or what they would say near. Okay. Also, too, there's more than one word for coming near. So we have to figure out, what does he mean by coming near or coming close? Nagash also means one who is coming close in terms of a human being between a male and a female, when they come close to be with each other intimately. So the idea behind Nagash is to draw near, really. Okay, so it's really a draw near and to approach. Okay. So, I look at this and I say, okay, well, I think we can learn from this that, according to what Yehuda had said here, prior to verse number 18 and verse number 17, or excuse me, 16, you see that it said that Yehuda said, there's nothing that we can say to my Lord, my master. How can we speak? There's no way we can clear ourselves. You see? There's no way we can clear ourselves. Elohim has revealed your servants, plural's guilt. So here we are, my master's slaves, both we and also the one in possession of the cup was found. The cup was found. We're talking about little Benjamin. And then he replied by saying, let me see. Yosef replied by saying, heaven forbid that I should act in such a way. The man in whose possession the goblet was found will be my slave, but as far as you go in peace to your father. Why do you think he said that? What's he trying to get from them?
Guilt, confession.
Well, he just made that's good. He made a confession. He said, Elohim has revealed our guilt. But did you guys notice that he didn't reveal exactly what they did? It was never mentioned by the brothers to Yosef what they did. They never came out and said, we sold our brother. They never said, we in front of him, we mistreated our brother. We didn't listen to his cries. They never mentioned any of those things. And I asked the Most High, like, well, why? Why didn't they confess that? And the bottom line is, it's not necessarily about what actually happened is important. It's really about, what do you do after that, right? So then this idea of an approach comes in, right? So you made some type of confession about your guilt, which the Creator is interested in having us understand, because the name Yehuda means what?
Praise.
But what's the other side of praise? We learned on Shabbat. Confession. You can praise with your hands like Yehuda, but you can also use your hands for confession. So the Most High chose Yehuda to be the one to come and to approach. So now that we understand that this right here is not in play right now, what's in play is confession, as Dr. Yared had mentioned. And how do we do this? So the Most High is trying to teach us something. The confession is not just, saying words like I'm guilty. That's not enough. Saying you're guilty is not enough. Okay. But it's about how we approach the Most High, just like Yehuda is approaching Yosef. Okay. And so the Most High is showing us, like, anybody that's of greater authority to us, we have to approach them a certain way. Okay. And this is not just with the Most High, but this is how we approach anybody that's in a position of authority over us. Because if you notice, he keeps using this word Lord. And we know in Hebrew that word means Adon. Okay. And the two letters in here that we're talking about in Adon is a Dalet and a Nun, right? So just off of that alone, we know the Dalet is a door and we know the Nun is a seed, right? This is a door, the door of the seed, or the seed of the door, right? So, and what is it? What's the seed mean? It means life. So an Adon, again, is someone who's in charge of opening the door of life. How was Yosef in charge of life?
He saved the people because of the famine.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And they kept having to come back to him in order to live. So remember, their father said, I'm not going to send him back. And then Yehuda said, if you don't send us back, then we're not going to live. We're actually going to die. Okay. So if you don't send us back, we're going to die. So we're faced with that decision. The decision is either do you want to live or you're going to die. You can choose. Okay. You can choose life and you can choose death. Who said that? Who told us that I'm putting a choice before you today?
Moshe.
Moshe said it. And do you remember what book he said?
What's it, Davarim?
Yes, it is. It's in Davarim. Okay. And it's chapter number 30. Okay. So we can choose. It's always going to be our choice. Okay. So their father decided he wants to live. So he sends him back. Now that he's there, they go through the situation. He's like, okay, I made a pledge. And again, he keeps calling him my Lord. And this right here is fulfilling Joseph's dream, because Yehuda is being a representative for all of his brothers. Okay. I'm going to try to get this a little faster. Okay. So he says, my Lord, I'm going to say my Lord, asked his servants, do you have a father or a brother? We answered, my Lord. Look at that again. So we have my Lord, my Lord, my Lord. Why does he keep saying this? Why does he make it possessive? Because he's trying, even in his confession, now he's trying to convince this man, which he doesn't know as Joseph, to keep him rather than to keep Benjamin. Okay. So he goes on, we have a father who is an old man and a child of his old age and a little one whose brother is dead. Okay. I don't like this one here because that's not necessarily true. Okay. It's a different word that they use. So that, because that gives you an idea. When it said little one, what do you think? You think of small child. Okay. Well, in our Torah portion, you're going to find out that Benjamin has a couple of different children. Okay. Benjamin has several different children. Okay. I'm not going to tell you the count. I want you to look at it later on this week and read it. But he has more than one child. Okay. So he's not just a little one. All right. So that sends your mind somewhere. That's why I'm saying the power of words. And it says, so that his mother's children, he alone is left, and his father loves him. So Benjamin is the object of his father's love, but he's also the object of Joseph's love. He says, but you said to your servants, again, letting the master know that we're your servants. He keeps saying this all the time. He says, bring him down to me, and so I can see him. So now they're showing that you gave us a command. That was a command, right? And that was, so when it was a command, it was given by their master, because they said we're your servants. So they followed the command. So what are you and I supposed to glean from this? I'll tell you, would they be able to stand before him if they didn't follow the command? No,
No.
because he said, if you don't bring that boy back and you don't bring him before me, you can't see me. So again, the master is telling and giving commands to the servant. If the servant does not do what he was commanded, he doesn't follow the command, there's no way that they would be able to see and stand before the master. Okay, because believe it or not, you have these ideas of Yosef and Yehuda, and you have other names that are mentioned. But really what this is about is a master-servant relationship, because the goal is that I'm going to be your master. That's what he was telling them, right? And they didn't want that, right? So that's what they tried to stop that from happening. So the master, our master, which is the Yohe-Wahe, is telling us, I told you that I'm going to be your master. And through time, you guys have never wanted to do what I said. You've always wanted to rebel against me, but I will rule you, okay? So let me take a little pit stop right quick and bring us there so I can bring a little bit more context to what we're learning, all right? So I'm just going to have to come back to 44 in a second. You will find this in Ezekiel. Either it's chapter, someone tell me, I know where it's at. Someone tell me, is it chapter number 20 or is it chapter number 18? Take a guess. Survey says it's 20. Okay. Chapter number 20, the Most High is talking to Ezekiel, Ezekiel, and he tells him that, hey, if you're going to judge these people, right, then you got to let them know what I'm saying. So listen what he says. And I'll start right here. Let's just start right here in 16. Because they have rejected my rulings, did not live by my laws, and profaned my Shabbat, since their hearts went after their idols. However, I spared them from complete destruction. Okay, and he's talking about the second group, right? That's who he's talking about, which we're going to get in 18. Because the first group rejected his rulings. They didn't live by his laws, and he profaned his Sabbaths. And they went after their idols while they were still in the wilderness. Okay. And that's something that you and I don't get a chance to talk about, because we're thinking, well, they were just rebelling, but the rebellion is caused by the idol worship. It's by idolatry. Okay. And that means that they're having an imaginary friends that are making them act a certain way. Because remember, idol is nothing. An idol is absolutely nothing. And because can an idol see?
No,
No. Can they hear?
no,
Can they speak?
no.
No. Can they feel? No, they can't. So they're absolutely nothing. Okay. And so the image of nothing makes a person nothing, right? And then the ideas that they have behind that, because every idol has a story, because every idol is an image. And again, an image comes with a narrative, a story. So if you start believing the story by looking at the image, you can come up with all kinds of ideas of what this so-called image or idol or God is like. And that causes you to move a certain way. The only reason why you and I are falling in line with the Creator is because of the idea behind what we know him to be. And it's without an image, which makes it very, very powerful. Okay. So in Christianity, they say, we have the image of God manifested in the flesh. And then they put the idea of believe behind that. You and I have been told that there is no image. So really, to be honest with you, who would be the stronger one? Who would have who would be more faithful? The one who looks at an image or the one who has no image at all? Who would you think would be the most faithful? Or the strongest one, or the strongest belief system? The strongest belief system is the one who doesn't need any idols. All we're listening for is hearing the words of the Creator. Okay. So he said, however, I spared them from complete destruction. I did not completely finish them off in the desert. Okay. So this is coming. Okay. I spared them from complete destruction. I did destroy some of them, but not all of them. I could have finished them off, but I didn't. Right. So instead of me finishing them off in the desert, what I did was I said to their children in the desert, don't live by the laws of your fathers, observe their rulings, or defile yourselves with their idols, the ones that they gave to them. Okay. So the children are the ones who were under the age of 19 years old. Okay. Anybody who was above 19 years old died. The only two that was left was Caleb and they call him Yehoshua. Okay. But remember, the story behind Ezekiel chapter number 20 is dealing with judgment. Okay. From a master. Verse 19, I am Yahweh, your Elohim. This is what he said to them. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Live by my laws, which are Kukim. Observe my rulings and obey them, and keep my Shabbats kadosh. And they will be a sign between me and you, as you would find in Ezekiel chapter number 31, verse number 13. That's the sign between Yahweh and his people. Okay. So he always applies a sign to like a covenant to say, okay, well, this is how you know. Like circumcision is a sign, the rainbow is a sign, the Shabbat is a sign. Okay, that's a sign. So if you keep the Shabbat and you keep it this way, and what it means to keep, somebody tell me, what does it mean to keep it?
To guard.
To guard, all of the word shamar. Okay, so that goes back to the covenant or the marriage proposal that he said. Remember, he said that if you would do two things, okay, two things is that he's asked you to do, okay, obey his words and guard his words. Those two things. Everything is based upon these things. When you go to the New Testament, they tell you that you only have two commandments. The first commandment is to love God. And what's the second one, everyone?
Love our neighbor as ourselves.
Love your neighbor, love others. Okay. So they switched it up. Yah has to, and they have to. You can choose. This is your choice. You can either do what he said right here. Okay. And you can find that in Exodus chapter number 19 or Shemot. Okay. Chapter number 19. I think it's verse number 4, 5, 6. Okay. That's the proposal. Or you can do this. You can love God and love others. Or you can obey Elohim and guard what he says. Obey his words and guard his words. So when it talks about my Shabbats, what he's saying is I want you to guard them. You can't obey without guarding. You can't guard without obeying. So guard my Shabbats by being there set apart, by being kadosh. Okay, so you don't include them with anything else. And if it is set apart, then you have to treat it set apart, meaning you can't join it with other activities that you would do during the week. So what are some of the things that person does during the week? They work out.
You go to work.
They go to work. See, work out, work at work, and they work in the yard.
You cook.
They cook. They do all these things. And things that has to do with labor. Okay. Now, could you wash your dishes? Yes, Yah says you can wash your dishes because that's normal, ordinary things that you're supposed to do. Like, activities you can do, you can bathe yourself, you can, clean yourself. But in terms of you going and cleaning your house and stuff like that, you had the whole weekend and you had the 6th day to do that. So our activities have to be set apart and they cannot be joined to other activities. My kids at first didn't like this. They were like, well, can we go to the swimming pool? I was like, no. We can't go swimming? No, it's for your health. I said, you're trying to play games. Okay. You want to go for a walk? You can do that because you normally walk on every other day, but this day right here, you can walk. But you're not walking, you're not power walking. You're going out and you're looking at what Yah has made. Okay. Verse 21. But this happened too. The children rebelled against me. Okay. And I'm bringing you here just because I want to show you that it's your choice. Okay. They did not live by my kukim. They did not observe my mishpatim. They did not shema them. Okay. Okay. So out of these two things about my laws in English, or observe my rulings, how many things are those that he just said? 1, 2. You understand? But within that, okay, you're going to find within my laws and within my rulings, you're going to find his voice. You're going to find the command. You see, that's what you're going to find. You're going to find his voice because these are the things that he said. So other people have laws and they have rulings. And we know that they have laws and rulings because this is what he said. He said right up here, don't live by the laws of your fathers or their rulings. See? So Yah has his own laws and he has his rulings. But that's your fathers versus what I said. Your traditions that your fathers gave you versus what I told you. Remember, it's always going to be your choice. Okay. And the choice is that you found that if you followed your father's laws and you followed observed their rulings, then Yah says that I didn't kill them off, but they did die. But Yah's laws and his rulings will bring life. You get to live. So the choice really what we have to determine or make the decision is basically always going to be whether you want to die or whether you want to live, life or death. That's when Moshe said that I'm going to set these two ways in front of you. And he wants you to choose. He asks you to choose it. Okay, we're going to read that in a moment. But they rebelled against me. They did not live by my laws or observe my rulings to obey them, which if a person does, he will have life by them. They profane my Shabbats. Then I said, I will pour out my fury on them and spend my anger on them in the desert. Nevertheless, I withdrew my hand because he was going to completely destroy them in the desert. Remember, I just destroyed the first batch. Now the children too, I was going to destroy them too in the desert. This is the narrative. Okay, so I was going to destroy, I've already destroyed the first group. Now I was going to destroy them too because they rebelled against me. And how do you rebel? By not living by his laws and observing his rulings and not obeying them. So you're not keeping the agreement. You're not keeping the marriage proposal. Okay. So nevertheless, I withdrew my hand and allow concern for my own reputation. This right here is reputation in Hebrew has to deal with his name. And his name is his character, which is called his Shemka. Or excuse me, his Shimon. Shemka is your name, Shimon. His name. His name is his reputation. So when he talks about his reputation, he's saying the breath of me, what I represent and what I live for, right? And what life is for me. So life for Yah is bound in his laws and in his rulings. So if we don't live by those things, then you and I won't have any life by them. So what he's trying to do is trying to convince us to choose not just life, but I need you to choose choose to listen to my voice, which are the Mishpatim and the Kukim. I'm trying to make this as plain and simple as it needs to be. We don't need to complicate it and get religious, okay? Because it's going to end in a very bad way. I also raised my hand and I swore to them in the desert. I want you to remember this idea about the desert, because that's where we're talking about. In the desert, what's the desert like?
There's nothing there.
Huh?
There's nothing in the
Hot,
desert.
dry, empty.
There's nothing, and there is no growth. There is no food, and there is no water. Okay? And in Hebrew, they call this the Shamama, which is a place of desolation. Okay? There's a reason why he brought the children of Israel to the desert. There's a reason why he brought the famine. Okay? He's always connecting everything to food and growth and development, because food, growth, and development has to do with life. I need you to hear what he's saying to us tonight. If we don't do what he says, it's as if you and I are in a desert. Your life is a desert. There's no reason for nothing for you. Okay. He brought them to the desert. He brought them to the Shamama, right? In order to get their attention, to let them know, if you don't listen to me, it's as if you're going to be desolate. You're going to be a ruin. I'm going to ruin you. That's why he kept us out there for that amount of time. He also kept us out there because there was nothing but him out there. And so we had to rely and we had to depend on him, okay, for life, okay? Just like in our Torah portion, we found that the Yaakov, Yisrael, and his sons and their families, they had to rely on Yosef and going to Mitzrayim. That's why they were brought there. The question is, well, couldn't he have done that in Canaan? He didn't want to leave them in Canaan. He wanted to bring them to a place where he would set them up to be hated. This is all Yah's doing, okay? So a desolation and a place of ruin in Shamama, okay, or Shema, has to do with being ruined. So he's letting us know, if you don't listen to me, right? Because this is where I'm going to deal with you. I'm going to deal with you in the desert. That's how I chose. I chose to bring, listen to that. He chose to bring us to the desert. When we went out of Mitzrayim, the first place he takes us is to the desert. He brings us to go into the land. We didn't want to go. He sends us back to the desert. When he gave us the instructions, it was in the desert. So he's making a clear distinction. He's literally saying, if you don't listen to me, you are going to be like a desert and you're going to be a ruin. I am your only life source. My words are the only thing that you can depend on. So listen what he says in 23. I raised my hand and I swore. Okay. I raised my hand and I swore to them in the desert that I would scatter them among the nations and I would disperse them through the countries. Did he do that? Yes, he did. So he kept his word. Okay. He swore to them. Who? To the children, because I didn't kill them. So I'm going to take those children that was in the wilderness, in the desert, that didn't listen to me and rebelled against me. I'm going to send them among all the nations and disperse them through all the countries. Going back to the idea that I said, I strongly believe that we are those children. We are. Because they hadn't obeyed my rulings, but have rejected my laws and profaned my Shabbats, and their eyes have turned toward their father's idols. That's the reason why. Okay, so they didn't want to have anything to do with what I said. They wanted to do death with their fathers. Just like when you got here in the place of the nations and dispersed through the countries, you and I have been given the idols of our fathers. I also gave them laws which did them no good. It's not tov, lo tov, and rulings by which they did not live. So at this moment, when they're in a state of rebellion, it really doesn't matter what I said to them. And verse 26, and I let them, meaning I caused them to become defiled by their own gifts in that they offered up their firstborn sons. Defilement, okay, and profane is by offering up your firstborn son. So why would he offer up his firstborn son? Come on. So that I could fill them with revulsion, and so that they would finally realize that I am Yahweh. I'm letting you know who I am, because when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Therefore, human being, it's interesting, he doesn't ever call Ezekiel by his name. He's always calling him the son of Adam. That's what he calls him the son of Adam. Okay. Speak to the house of Israel. That means all 12 tribes. In context, Ezekiel's on the river Kabar in Babylon, and in the house of Israel has been scattered all over the countries. So how could he speak to the nation of Israel, the house of Israel? Okay. And when he's talking about the house of Israel, he's letting us know that this it is, and not used to be, but he was formerly known as Yaakov. I'm talking to that family. Tell that family, tell them that the master of masters, Yahweh, they got here Adonai Elohim, but in the Hebrew, this right here is master of masters. Okay. And this right here is Yahweh. Okay. The master of masters. That's why I'm going here, is because like Yehuda's calling Yosef a master. Well, he is the master of masters. That's why it's Adonai, not Adon. Adon is singular, a master. But the Adoni on here means my master. Adonai means master of masters. So there is not a master that's above the Most High. He's over all masters. And what he's done is when he sent us to all these different places, right? He's sending us to be under other masters, that he's the master over them. Nothing in our life can happen without him knowing about it and him causing it to happen. So moreover, your ancestors blasphemed me by breaking faith with me, and it's still another way. So not only did they do this, because the question is, are you going to judge them? If you are, you tell them what I'm going to say. For after I have brought them into the land which I have raised my hand to pledge to give to them, they noted all its high hills as leafy trees and offered there their sacrifices. There they made offerings that provoked my anger. There they set out their sweet aromas, and there they poured out their drink offerings. And when I asked them, because he asked them a question, and how does he usually talk to the children of Israel? How did he ask him? Who did he use to talk to them?
Moshe.
Yes, but right now they're in the land. Moshe didn't go into the land. So Yah says, I'm going to give you these individuals who will talk to you when I want to speak to you. I'll use them. Who is he saying? When he's talking to them, who's he using?
Is it the Levium?
He's using a prophet. And you're right, the Leviim as well, which are the Kohanim. The Kohanim had direct connection with him. So if he couldn't get their attention by talking to them through the Kohanim, which are from the family of the Leviim, he would then send a message through the prophet to tell them, this high place where you're going, what is the meaning of it? Just like he asked all the questions in the book of Malachi. You know, if I'm your father, where's my respect? If I'm your master, if I'm your master, where's my respect? If I'm your father, where's my honor? So then he says this. So tell the house of Israel, okay, all 12 tribes, the master of masters, Yahweh says, you're defiling yourselves in the same way as your ancestors, following their abominations and fornicating with them. And when you offer your gifts, you make your children pass through the fire and defile yourselves with all your idols. Remember, this is determining how one is to act, even to this day. Okay, so to this day. And then he asked a question. So am I, and he's using the Son of Man, he's using Ezekiel to talk to them. And he's saying, so am I supposed to allow you to consult me? Or are we supposed to have a conversation, House of Israel? He says, as I live, says this master of masters, Yahweh, I swear, like I swore to raise my hand, that I will destroy you, or I swore to scatter you to all the countries and the nations. He raised his hand here and said, I swear that I won't have you consult me. So you don't get to consult me. So he's saying there's not going to be a conversation. So in context with and in alignment with our Torah portion, we see that Yahudah was able to approach his master now that he's under. He was able to do that nagash. Okay. Someone who's able to nagash is able to come before them and make a plea before them. Okay. So Yah is telling, listen carefully. Yah is telling us through this prophet that I swear that I won't have you consult me. And what you have in mind, this is in your mind, when you say we will be like the Goyim, which means the nations, okay? Because this is what you and I and our ancestors have been after the whole time. He says, when you say he's been listening to us, we will be like the Goyim. We're going to be like them. We're going to dress like them. We're going to live like them. We're going to act like them. We're going to marry them. We're going to follow their pagan practices. We're going to be like all the other families on the earth, okay, in all the other countries. And what we're going to do, our intention is to serve wood and stone. He said, will certainly not happen. So you might have that in your mind, that you want to be like other families, like the Goyim. But Yah says it's not going to happen. And the individuals that he's talking to are the children that were scattered to the nations, which is you and I. So he's literally saying, don't get comfortable, because this will never happen. Okay. So it appears right now that a lot of us are people, Israel has, assimilated to the peoples around us. And he's saying that's not ever going to happen. I'm not going to let you completely do this. Remember, he said, I'm not going to let you consult me, but listen what he says. As I live, because I'll never die, says the supreme master of masters, Yahweh, I swear again. I swear that I won't have you consult me. I swear. Surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with poured out fury, I myself will be king over you. Okay? That's what's going to happen. That means that when I mention this, because remember, the brothers are trying to get out of Yosef being their master. And when Yah decides to make something happen, everyone is going to happen. And that's what makes him our Elohim. So he's saying, you have something in your mind. And your mind are your thoughts, and your mind are your behaviors. Okay? It's your behaviors and it's your attitudes about where you are and who you are. So this is Yah's literally drawing a line in the sand and saying, you're not going to be who you think you're going to be. That's not going to happen. But I swear that I'm going to do something with a mighty hand, like I did in Mizraim, with a stretched arm, like I did in Mizraim. But when I was in Mizraim, I didn't pour out my fury. I didn't pour my fury on you. If you look at when he says that I came and got you with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm. The Creator has never poured out his fury. And this is the reason why he asked Ezekiel in chapter number 20, verse number 1. You can read it later on this week. He says, are you going to judge them? Because if you are, I need you to tell them what I'm saying. So at this moment, Yah's not asking us. He's saying that right now, I swear that I'm not going to have you consult me. So consultation with him means that you're going to have a prophet, because they were going to the prophet Ezekiel and asking him, can you go to Most High and consult? Can you ask the Most High what it's going to be? And I'm going to show you that in a moment. Matter of fact, let me be diligent. and show you. He's talking about consultation. You're not going to consult me. Okay. And the reason why he's saying this is because that was their goal, because they're playing games. Okay. So he says this. On the first day, verse number 1, on the 10th day of the 5th month of the 7 years, some of Israel's leaders came to consult Yahweh. They came to get counsel, and they want to sit and they want to hear what Yahweh has to say. Okay. They want to consult. They want to find out what's going on with us as a people. What can we do? Okay. And look, they want to consult. And so they sat with him, with Ezekiel, Yechezkel. And the word of Yahweh came to me. When they sat with me, he said, human being, Ben Adam, listen, speak to Israel's leaders. You tell them that the supreme master says you're not going to consult me. Ask, well, have you come to consult me? As I live, says the supreme master, I swear that I will not let you consult me. Okay. And he asked a question, are you going to judge them? So the basis of this conversation that the Most High is having in chapter number 22 is about judging them. He's never fully judged all of our ancestors. He may have killed the first group, right? And he got mad and said, I was going to wipe you out, but I just partially destroyed you. Then he says, I went to their children and they rebelled against me. I was going to destroy them 100%. And I never did. He asks again, are you going to judge them? As twice he mentions it. He says, if it is the case, if you are going to judge them, because Ezekiel is standing in the place of the Most High, he says, now I need you to then have them realize how disgusting their ancestors' practices were. Because if they don't understand how disgusting their ancestors' practices were and are, they're the ones that I'm going to judge. So that's when he says, you're not going to consult me. Okay? Because he's telling them, I'm going to let you know how this relationship started off, and I'm going to let you know how I'm going to judge you. I was judging you a little bit by a little bit in the desert. Okay. But now that I got you in all these nations, I'm going to do something, which brings us to our final point. I hope you're following along, because this means that Yah is telling us something here, that I'm not going to have anybody consult me. I'm telling you what I'm going to do. I'm telling you the end from the beginning. Okay. If I told you about your ancestors in the desert, and when I brought them out of Mitzrayim, I told you I was going to kill them in Mitzrayim. I already told you that. Okay. I told you that. I told you that I was going to kill them in Mitzrayim too. I told them each of you is to throw away his detestable things to draw away your eyes. Don't defile yourselves with the idols of Egypt. I am Yahweh your Elohim. I told them that in Egypt, but they rebelled against me and wouldn't listen to me. They did not, each of them, throw away their detestable things that drew their eyes, and they did not abandon the idols of Egypt. So this is the focus of what the problem is. The problem is the idols of the land that you're in, which is the wood and the stone. So I sent you to the places that I've sent you to because I know when you get there, you're going to have to make a choice. Because the same thing that I asked your ancestors to do, listen, I asked your ancestors to get rid of their idols while they were in the land of Mitzrayim. The one that you're reading about in the Torah portion where I sent them there on purpose. And I've sent you where I sent you on purpose. I know there are idols there. I want to know if you're going to be wholehearted with me, which they rebelled against me. I said I was going to pour out my fury on them and spend my anger on them in the land of Egypt. No one talks about that. But he says, for my name, my reputation, I didn't do it because other people saw me bring you out. You see? Then he says, I talked to them and told them to leave the stuff behind. They wouldn't. So I brought them into the desert. And I gave him my laws and showed him my rulings. If a person obeys them, he'll have life through him. Gave him my Shabbats, a sign between me and them, so that they would know that I'm Yahweh, the one who makes them holy, set apart. That's what the Shabbat is for. I'm setting you apart for myself. That's why I gave you my Shabbats to make you holy, to let you know that I'm the one who makes you set apart. But what did they do? The house of Israel rebelled against me in the desert. Okay, so you got idols, you got desert, you got rebellion. It's all the same thing. They rejected my rulings and all these sorts of things again. No, letting you know that that's the life. So going down to where we are, he finally tells him, he says in 27, we already read that, excuse me. 32. So everything that you have in mind, meaning like you're going to be like them, like wood and stone, worship their gods and all these sorts of things, it's not going to happen. As I live, says the supreme master of masters, Yahweh, I swear, surely with a mighty hand, stretched out arm, and poured out fury, the fury that I've never poured on you when you were in Mizraim, the fury that I never poured on you when you were in the desert, the fury that I haven't poured yet. I haven't poured it out yet. I myself will be king over you. I will bring you out. I will bring you out from the peoples, what the nations that I scattered you to, and gather you from all the countries where you were scattered, that I caused you to be scattered with a mighty hand, stretched out arm, and poured out fury. That's where I'm pouring my fury out on. And after I finish doing that, because I'm going to show the nations, because before I brought you out and I wouldn't, pour out my fury because I didn't want them to think any bad of me, right, for my reputation. I didn't want them to say that I couldn't bring you into the land. I didn't want them to see that I didn't have, make them think I didn't have the power to do what I said I was going to do. But now, 35, then I'm going to bring you into the desert, just where your ancestors were when I brought them out of Mizraim. I'm going to bring you into the desert of the peoples. And I'm going to do something there. I'm going to judge you face to face, just as I judged your ancestors. And how did he judge our ancestors in the desert? Somebody tell me.
With fire.
Yes, and he killed the first batch in the desert. So he's telling us right now, when I talk about judging you face to face, okay, because a person who hates me, I'm going to pay him face to face. So you and I are going to get the face to face meeting. And it talks about you saw me, right? But not of shape of me, but what did you see face to face? What did you see? What did you see in the desert?
Fire.
What did you see? You saw that fire, didn't you? You saw that fire, didn't you? You saw that smoke, you saw that darkness. So I'm going to bring you out to this place again, okay, to a desert. And me and you're going to have a conversation, and I'm going to judge you face to face. You're going to hear my voice like they heard when I spoke out of the mountain. And when they said, we heard his voice and we don't want to die, let us not hear his voice. Guess what he's saying this time? You're not going to run nowhere to a tent. There will not be anybody like Moshe to stand before you right now. The one who tried to intercede for you and said, let me stand in the gap and forgive them. And he said, no, not right now. No. Whoever sends me is the one who's going to die. Is that what he said? So he hasn't paid us back, everyone. So in 36, he says, just as I judged your ancestors in the desert, that's why I'm bringing you back to the desert to judge you. So if you were judged by the cross of Christ, then why is he bringing you to the desert to judge you? Right? So just as I judged your ancestors in the desert of the land of Mizraim, when I brought them out of the land of Mizraim, I brought them to the desert. When I bring you out from the places and everything, I'm going to bring you to the desert of the peoples. So I will judge you the same way, says the supreme master of masters, Yahweh. I will make you pass under the crook. The crook is the shepherd's staff, and bring you into the obligations of the covenant. There's obligations that you said that you were going to keep. I'm going to bring you into those obligations. And once we go out to the desert, we're going to find out something. We're going to find out who's who. 38, I will rid you of the rebels. I'm getting rid of them. Just like I did in the desert with your ancestors. I'm going to get rid of the rebels who are in revolt against me. Now, here is it's not an honest word. They say revolt, but when you look in the Hebrew, it's a participle, it's revolting. That is a constant doing. That is a participle, okay? They're doing it as we speak. So I'm going to rid you of the people who are not rebels, but the rebelling, the ones who are revolting against me. How do you revolt and how you rebel? By doing everything he said from verses 1 all the way down, where he says they rebelled against me. And how did they rebel? They rebelled by what? Rejecting my laws, statutes, and my Shabbats. You see, so that's the people who are rebelling, who refuse to do what he says. So when I bring them out of the land where they're living, because I'm going to bring them out, because I told you I was going to bring you out, but I'm going to bring them too. Who? The rebels. They're coming out. Okay. Where they're living, but they will not enter the land of Israel. So if they're not going to enter the land of Israel and they are in the desert, what's going to happen to them? That's right. I'm going to kill them in the desert. Just like your ancestors who sinned against me, they didn't go into the land. You're not going into the land. If you rebel against me, I'm going to kill you too. You won't go. I'll do you like I did Moses. Go up there and die. You're not, go look at it, but you're not going in. Then you will know that I'm Yahweh. Then you'll know when he says, then you'll know I'm Yahweh. Then he says that Yada right there means that me and you are intimate. Now you would actually believe what I said. Now you actually get the experience. Yada means the hand, to know. That word Yada is connected to the word confess. That word confess is the one that has to do with praise. That praise has to do with Yehuda. Yehuda, as we see right now, has to do with approaching. It's because of what Yehuda did in his approach. And the Most High is letting us know it's on how you approach me. If you're in a situation between you living and surviving, and for me to destroy you, you have to be careful what your Wayigash is going to be, what your Nagash is going to be. How are you going to approach me? Are you approaching me with empty words? Are you approaching me with the, do you think I want to hear the right sayings? Are you approaching me with humility? Are you approaching me to know that, listen, I'm wrong and we're in a situation right now? We're in a catch-22. There's nothing that Yehuda or his brothers could have ever said. He said, there's nothing that we can say to you, master. Yah's letting us know. You have to come to that point in your life where there's nothing to be said to the Most High. There is no consulting. There is no negotiation with the Most High. It's whether or not you and I have done what he says. And as for you, house of Israel, all 12 tribes and all the descendants of the fathers, here is what the supreme master of masters, Yahweh, says. Go on serving your idols, every one of you. But afterwards, you will listen to me, and you will no longer profane my set apart name with your gifts and with your idols, because I'm going to get rid of the rebels. Okay. And those of you who have decided to follow my ways will be able to come on and be with me on my holy mountain. Because we asked a question on the Shabbat, who can go on Yah's holy mountain? The high mountain of Yisrael. In Psalms 24, it says those who had clean hands, those who, I'll read it right quick. I mentioned it. I'll finish it out. I have to finish it. "24 says, because he's just talking about his holy hill right there, and we want to be clear, right? Thing does it to me every time. 24. Here's the question. Who may go up to the mountain of Yahweh? Huh?
He that has clean hands,
Those with clean hands.
Pure
And what
heart.
type of hearts?
pure
That's a
heart.
pure mind. And you know what? He's not accepting anybody that doesn't have clean hands and a pure heart. This is why Yehuda went to his brother and he made that confession. It's our approach. Who don't make vanities of the purpose of their lives or swear oaths just to deceive. See, those are the people who are going to be able to go up onto Yahweh's mountain. We can't take that lightly. He literally means what he's saying. He's too powerful for us to ignore these words. That's my point. I don't want us to not take this serious. You know, I'm not interested in scaring anybody, but it's the truth. If you want to live, you'd have to follow the instructions, and you have to search yourself. Okay. We're not doing this for any other reason but to get back home and to be able to approach Yahweh and to go and be on his mountain. So when you look right here and it says, that, I'm going to make you pass. Look, here it is. 40, on my mountain, my set apart mountain, the high mountain of Israel, says the supreme master of masters, Yahweh, the whole house of Israel. Okay. That's not including the rebels. All of them will serve me in the land because I'm your master. That's why he keeps using the term Adonai Elohim, meaning the supreme master of masters. That's why it's mentioned every time. He's speaking to them because he's saying to us, listen, I'm your master. I am your master of masters. I am the door of life for you. I'm the one who provides you with instructions. If you listen, you'll live. He's saying that you and I, he says, listen, you're going to serve me because I'm the master. I will accept them there, and there I will require your contributions. I want the best gifts of all your consecrated things, everything that's been set apart. So you think, when I bring you back to the land, you're going to bring some contributions to me like you're supposed to, because that's the reason why we're in a relationship. Because those things remind you that what I have done for you. I will accept you with your sweet aroma. Remember, he said you were setting out sweet aromas for your gods. When I bring you back, you're going to bring that sweet aroma to me. Okay. And I will bring you out from the peoples and gather you out from the countries where you were scattered. And through you, I will manifest my holiness, my set apartness, my glory in the sight of the nations through you. They're going to see my glory because of what I'm going to do with you. You will know that I am Yahweh. When? When are you going to know that I mean what I say? You're only going to know this when I bring you into the land of Israel, into the country which I pledged to your ancestors by raising my hand to give to your ancestors. That's when you're going to know who I am. When I fulfill the words in which I spoke, the promise that I swore to them, then you're going to know I keep my word. You should know this by now, but you won't really know it until you're there. There, where in the land you will remember your behavior. Remember I told you the idols is what causes a person to act a certain way and give you attitudes, your behavior. And all the things you did by which you defiled yourselves, what? With your idols. And you will loathe yourselves. And this is people who survived. These ain't the rebels. They're not even in the land. You're going to hate yourselves for all the evils. So you're not going to have a clear conscience when you go back. You're going to be dancing and singing, but then it's going to hit you. We're going to literally grieve. And we're going to cry, as you see in our Torah portion this week. There's a lot of tears because you have to understand that you need to understand what your behaviors have been. You need to understand what your ancestors did to me. You need to understand that you being away from me has never made me happy. You need to understand the separation between our family is because of the evils that you have committed. Now, if I'm bringing you back to the land and I'm telling you that you're going to think about all your behavior, when he says that you're going to remember your behavior, what, from 1970? No, you're going to remember your behavior from the time that you were in the desert to the time when you come back home. I'm going to open your eyes And you're going to remember all the idols that you serve. You're going to remember all the times that you laid down in front of somebody. You're going to remember all the times that you burned up your children. You and I don't know what we've done. We don't know the extent of what we've done. You're going to hate yourselves for all the evils you've committed. Not smoking no cigarettes and drinking or having a cigar or drinking some alcohol. These are the things that you and I don't know. Just like on our Torah portion, they didn't mention, hey, we sold our brother. They didn't confess that. When they had to go and listen, when those brothers, and I didn't even go over it yet, but when they went home and they told their father that Joseph lived, do you know what they had to experience? Do you know the shame that they felt? Yosef told them, when you go back on your way home, don't even argue and don't even be mad at yourself. Not right now. Not now. Say that right now we got a crisis going on. But right now, Yah's telling you, when I bring you back, you are going to, when I bring it to your remembrance, you're going to remember everything you did. You're going to remember everything you did. House of Israel, we are eternal people. I know that doesn't seem convenient. I know it doesn't seem, I just got here. I'm in my early 20s. What are you talking about, Dawid? I'm in my 60s. You have been here. You've been going through time. Would it surprise you to know that Yahweh's people never really die? They go through cycles? What in his mercy and his grace, he's given you enough time in this moment right now to change our ways. He applies everything, not to somebody, in the United States, only saying to the house of Israel. You're going to remember your ways. You remember your behavior. I want you to think about that. You will know, keep saying it over and over again. You will know that I'm Yahweh when I bring you into the land. You will know that I'm Yahweh when I have dealt with you in a manner that preserves my name, not according to your own evil ways and corrupt actions, house of Israel. Ezekiel's in Babylon. Israel's already been scattered 150 years before. Says the supreme master Yahweh. Do you understand? You and I need to understand this, because that's what he's saying. That's what he's telling us. See, a lot of people teach it and say, well, he's just talking to them. That don't apply to us. That's why the New Testament for them is so relevant, because they don't even know that he's talking to them. They think there's a different message. They think it's another word. They think it's another teaching. They think it's another doctrine. He said, I'm not going to let you consult me. I've already told you what the problem is. That's why I brought you to the places where you are right now, to find out whether or not you're going to do what I say. Or are you going to be like your ancestors? Because if you are, this last rodeo, when you go back to the desert this time, when I bring you out, we're going to have a face-to-face meeting, just like when I met with your ancestors. And we're going to find out. We're going to find out. Any remarks? I kept you 10 minutes over. I'm sorry. I had to get that last part off. We got to keep this in mind. Go ahead, Akoti. Well, praise be to the living Elohim. I will see you all, if Yahweh's willing, on Yom Kamishi. So we can follow up and we can look. And now that we saw this tonight, I guarantee you when we go back to our Torah portion, we're going to see like, wow, okay. Total Rabbah. Thank you, Akoti. Yeah, we're going to see. We're going to see what it is. Okay. you're going to see some parallels there. All right. Hallelujah. 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 Praise be to
Hallelujah.
God.
Toda
Father,
Rabba.
everyone.